For decades now, the movie industry has been moving away from Southern California to other regions, including the Southwest. New Mexico has become a film production hotspot, thanks largely to big tax incentives. And that's having a big impact on the local film scene here in the borderland, where creatives are seeing an opportunity to turn their passion into a profession.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1, go!
Cameras are rolling in southern New Mexico, where film production has pumped millions of dollars into the local economy.
In Las Cruces alone last year, film and television production spent close to $8 million in direct spend, and the city of Las Cruces in Doña Ana County.
Jonathan Sepp is the head of Film Las Cruces, a nonprofit that promotes the film and entertainment business in southern New Mexico.
And that's a big part of what my job is, not only to market the area to industry decision makers, but also help them spend as much money locally as possible.
Earlier this year, a California-based company called 828 Productions announced a $75 million investment in Las Cruces. It plans to build a 300,000 square foot studio and a 20-acre backlot, bringing as many as 100 full-time jobs to the area.
So New Mexico has worked long and hard over the last 25 years to grow the film and entertainment arts industries here in New Mexico as a whole.
Texas does not offer film productions the same tax incentives that are offered in New Mexico. In spite of that, a lot of film production in Texas has been centered around Austin. But some of that is starting to change, thanks to a new wave of talented creators coming from El Paso.
I think we're capable of being in Austin. I really do, and I think we're really close to that. I think the talent is here, the spaces is here, the stories are here.
Carlos de la Torre is a local filmmaker who's been a tireless champion of film production in the borderland. His company, Tower Productions, has made several short films and produces a weekly podcast.
El Paso loves cinema, period. El Paso loves cinema, and that means making films, that means attending films.
The film industry's focus on Austin was due largely to filmmaker Robert Rodriguez and his ex-wife, Elizabeth Avean, who both created Troublemaker Studios.
We all stayed there and made it happen there and grew it from there, then helped the next generation or the other filmmakers that were around.
Avean was in El Paso this month as part of a panel discussion focused on the benefits of local filmmaking.
And in that way, I really see that here. From everything that I've been talking to people, I feel like there's a bubbling that's happening on the ground that I felt in Austin many years ago.
Avean is not alone in her assessment of El Paso.
I don't think there's ever been a time where El Paso has been closer to having a critical mass of all the things we need to produce and make high-quality feature films right here.
The panel discussion this month was sponsored by Destination El Paso in conjunction with the El Paso Film Festival, which is celebrating its 5th anniversary.
The El Paso film community I've just seen constantly grow in the last several years. It did shrink a little bit during the pandemic, but it's starting to come back.
Carlos Corral is also a local filmmaker who founded the El Paso Film Festival.
Today is rigging day. Whoop, whoop. Hello, hello.
Corral works regularly on sets in southern New Mexico and West Texas and believes that the future is bright when it comes to the local film scene.
I've seen more films come to El Paso and Las Cruces than I did in the last several years pre-pandemic, which means to me, I think the word has gotten out that this is a great place to film. This is a great place to bring people, and it's also a budget-friendly place.
But in order for El Paso to attract film production, it needs infrastructure.
3, 2, 1.
And that's where Star Central Studios comes into the picture.
For many years, El Paso had what I call a chicken and egg problem. We had no big projects here because there was no resources, there was no equipment, there was no crew, and there was no crew and resource because there was no big projects. So at some point, it's very important to break that cycle.
Gilbert Jorgensen founded his company in 2020. It's what's known as a rental house, where filmmakers can rent the same equipment that's used on professional shoots elsewhere.
This is so important. This place is so important for people, for the students here and for people who are in the film industry.
But it goes beyond rentals. Star Central also provides local filmmakers with a learning laboratory where they can experiment with incredibly expensive cameras and lenses that would otherwise be inaccessible.
I think that if you want to keep people here, you want to keep our talent here, and you want those creative people to tell our stories, then they need to have the resources to do that.
Right down the street at Access Multimedia, aspiring creatives are learning from some of the best filmmakers in the city. This VisualScope Film Workshop focused on everything from music videos to narrative techniques.
Right now we had some students operate the camera, so now we're rotating everybody so they can get a chance to try one on the dolly, one on the slider, one on the tripod, and they get a feel for it, you know what I mean?
Local filmmaker Raul Hernandez has been working for years to elevate the film scene in El Paso, and he's not alone.
People are so used to creating films and then uploading them onto YouTube and sharing them with their friends, and that's great and all, but you know, we're trying to make a little bit of money here. We're trying to make a little bit of business happen here.
Julian Nunez is a filmmaker who helped create a TV show called Entre Fronteras, which was recently sold to the Spanish-language streaming service Canela Media.
This is art, yes. I see it that way. I think what has helped me and help go to the next step is not only see it as art, but see it as a business as well.
The cinematic success stories don't end there.
Within that, you're going to realize that there's probably things in each of you that are a superpower that you haven't thought about. Because I never thought that I was going to be in post-production.
Last month, the Fem Frontera Filmmakers Showcase brought together an impressive level of local talent, including native El Pasoan Cristina Ibarra, a documentarian who was recently awarded a MacArthur Genius Grant.
This is my intention, and this is why I need to tell the story in this way.
Fem Frontera was founded in 2016 as a way to amplify films made by women and non-binary filmmakers from border regions around the world. The showcase last month also featured El Paso native Ileana Sosa, whose award-winning documentary is currently streaming on Netflix.
Don't forget about your local also resources, because those are great and actually quite easier to get rather than going, oh, I'm going to go and get the Sundance thing.
Ileana's documentary, What We Leave Behind, has received rave reviews from several top critics. She's currently working on another project in El Paso for HBO.